Well, BYU and TCU. In a word, you folks on the stream, we're going to send us one word.
Yeah, send us your one-word description.
To describe what we saw.
That would be interesting.
44-11, TCU.
No profanity, please, on the stream. No profanity,
Sorry,
please.
We have a glitch. I don't know if it's my computer. You getting a glitch over there, too?
Yeah, I'm getting a little glitch.
We got a glitch, so put up with it. We'll try and get it fixed.
They're working on it.
Our top men are working on it.
Our top man is Jack, and he's working on it.
It's like
and
that
DJ's also our top man.
Remember that
two
scene
top men
from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they get the Ark, and Harrison Ford saying, where is it? And they go, our top men. I got it. And he's like, who here? Top men.
Top men have it.
And then they were sticking it in some warehouse, but that's what I think of. Our top men are working on
We got some pressure, though, because we're here comes some of the one-word descriptions, but we're putting pressure because we just revealed that it's Jack and DJ are our top men, right?
Yeah,
and
that's what we got.
So Jeffrey Seaman says lethargic.
Yeah.
And Mike Z just me says depressing.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Trevor Mitchell says fail.
Okay.
Jay says uninspired. Hey, I appreciate you guys keeping it clean. Those all describe how I think we all felt, right?
Yeah. BYU drops to 4-2, 1-2 in the league. TCU's at 4-3. 2-2 in the conference. They came in having lost 2 games, and we thought, having lost their quarterback as well, that there would be an opportunity. Yes, Kellen, you're right. You told us last week that Hoover could sling it, and he slung it.
Kellen had some experience with Hoover in high school, and mentioned this kid's just built to come in here and play well. And you were right, Kellen. And here's the interesting thing. Some of the staff at BYU have friends down there. After the game, some of the vibe coming out of TCU is that's kind of what we expected out of Hoover.
Right.
And they were saying Morris, they defaulted to Morris because he's the veteran and he's been around. I remember he got hurt last year, and Duggan took over and was phenomenal. But a lot of people behind the scenes down there, and we did not know this. We thought, hey, here comes a redshirt freshman quarterback, right? Best case scenario. A lot of folks behind the scenes down at TCU were going, Hoover should have been the guy in the first place. He fits his skill set, fits this offense better.
Yeah.
Morris runs around a little. This kid just stands in there and just throws BBs all over the yard. Like he was throwing strikes everywhere. And they look like the TCU of last year with him at the helm. Receivers making plays, him throwing the ball great all over the field.
Looked awesome. They looked awesome.
He looked really good. So uncompetitive. Amber says the players seem bored or something.
They did seem to be a lack of energy.
Yeah. Forrest Gump says, Houston, we have a problem. Hey, let's give some credit to Hoover. He played phenomenal.
Yeah.
And those receivers played great. So
send us your one-word words to describe.
To share with everybody.
It was a tough game for Slovis. He had an interception on the opening drive for a touchdown. The running game couldn't get going. The third down conversions were 2 of 14. And you're right, Hoover threw for 439 yards and 4 touchdowns. And TCU was 12 of 19 on third down. That kind of captures the whole experience.
And we talked about this on AFR. If any of you just watched AFR before you came over to us here, one of the keys was BYU wasn't good on first down. And it's really hard to be good on third down when it's third and long all the time.
Yeah.
TCU was really good on first down in that game. They got production, it seemed like, on every first down, more production on second down. When they had third downs, most of their third downs were really manageable. And BYU's in third and long all the time. Too many negative plays in the early downs, too many no yardage plays in the early downs. It seemed like they had a lot of throwaway downs early. And then you get in third and long, and you're not going to convert in third and long very often. Not if that's what you have a steady diet of that. So you've got to be more productive on first and second. And I'm convinced at this point now, halfway through the season, they got to throw the football more on first down.
Yeah, and throw it short.
Yeah, and get the quick passing game going. You know why Hoover was so good? They gave him a bunch of easy throws to start.
Yeah.
Catch the ball, get it out.
Catch
the ball, get it out. It's easy to complete slants and hitches, and sometimes those balls only go for 3 or 4 yards. That's better than getting stuffed in the run game on first down. And
sure is.
I feel like BYU do some self-scouting, and this week against Texas Tech, I bet we see them throw more on first down, and I think we see a lot more quick game early in the game to allow Keaton Sullivan to get a rhythm and not be standing back making complex reads down the field in the intermediate and deep routes.
Yeah, and it'll be dark by halftime.
Yep. And then the Vampires come out for BYU. Nobody can beat BYU after dark at home.
Robert, back with us from Ridgecrest, California. Keep them coming. BYU Texas Tech. It's a 5 o'clock local time start here in the mountains on FS1. It's just the second meeting. You know, we played a lot of schools. We've only played Texas Tech once, and that was
I couldn't believe that when it was that long ago, and that they've only played them once. How's that even possible?
In Lubbock, it was 21-20. So the air raid, that was pre-air raid.
Yeah.
I didn't even think they were throwing the football in 1940.
I'm surprised that when our good friend Mike Leach was down there, that somehow they didn't figure out how to get together during that time.
We saw him when he was with Washington State.
Yeah.
In fact, his first game at Washington State was here, and we had a chance to visit with him down on the
that was so
sideline.
Fun. So fun.
Yeah.
Is it ever boring to visit with Mike Leach? We love visiting with him so much. I had him at a game at Texas Tech back in the old days in the old network. He was just one of the great human beings to visit with when you're getting ready for a game.
We'll spend some time talking about him on game day.
Yep.
Ahead of the Texas Tech game.
Absolutely.
Those Red Raiders are 3-4. They're 2-2. Their wins: Tarleton State, Houston, and Baylor. Losses at Wyoming, Oregon, West Virginia, and Kansas State. I think the Wyoming loss is the blueprint.
Yeah.
Texas Tech has better athletes. They're in a better conference. But on that day in Laramie, the Wyoming crowd was engaged, and the Cowboys outplayed them. That's how you beat them.
Yeah, and Wyoming they were assignment sound. They were in all the gaps. They played with passion, and they shut them down. And these Red Raiders, they're an interesting group, because when you think of Texas Tech, you think of Mike Leach, and you think of a guy that says, I don't even care if we run the ball. I don't even care. We're going to throw it 60 times with Patrick Mahomes or whoever we have, and we're just going to keep throwing it. And we're going to spread the field out, and we're just going to throw it every down. And that was air raid, right? And that's kind of what Washington State does now. Yeah. You know, because of Mike Leach being there. TCU kind of did that last week. They threw the ball 58 times last week, right? That was air raid with Sonny Dykes, who's has ties to air raid, and Mike Leach. This is a run team disguised as an air raid team. We're looking at it today. They are a 48% run team. So they spread you out, and they big gaps, and they take advantage of those big seams as they've got you spread out, and they run the football with Brooks, who by the way, is a really, really solid running back. Taj Brooks is averaging 6 yards a carry. He led this team in rushing 2 years in a row. He's on his way to doing it a third year in a row.
He's got 786. BYU as a team has 405.
Dave, he's tracking toward 1,400 yards this season if he just keeps up his average. And I think everybody thinks of Texas Tech as this just come out and sling it all over the place 65, 70 times. But they've run the ball almost exactly the same number of times that they've thrown the ball this season. And there's a good chance they're going to be playing a true freshman at quarterback, their third-string quarterback. BYU didn't fare very well against a second-string quarterback.
So we're going to shoot for a third string.
So we're shooting for third.
Yeah, it's got to get better.
And we don't know this for sure. We haven't, but Morton went out of the game last week. Their backup quarterback, who has been playing the last several games because their starting quarterback to start the season
broke his leg.
Their fifth-year senior broke his leg, and so Morton's been in there. And now Morton goes out with a throwing shoulder injury last week, and Strong comes in and finishes the game, and he ended up 16 of 28. The problem was down the stretch he threw 3 picks, had 173 yards and a touchdown. This was against Kansas State in his debut, and the defense wasn't helping him out. They allowed Kansas State to rush for 272 yards and 5 touchdowns against them rushing, and so the formula seems to be run for touchdowns, get your hands up and make coverage tight, so the young freshman has to try to force the ball in.
Something's got to disrupt him. If you can't sack him, you got to disrupt him.
I'll be surprised if Morton lines up as a starter. I think it's going to be Jake Strong.
And I think BYU's defense is going to pounce.
Yeah, I think BYU's defense is, they made some errors. There were some catches that were just phenomenal catches by TCU's receivers last week. They made some great plays.
And then they had so many wide open catches.
And then as we went back and reviewed the film, we talked about some of this on AFR. You get really, really concerned if you go back and watch a film and you go, man, we just couldn't run with that guy. Or, oh, man, they knocked our D-line 5 yards off the ball and our linebackers couldn't even scrape. That's why they ran the ball. those things really concern you because like, oh, you just don't it just didn't match up with TCU. But you go back and I'd say 90+% of the issues in that game were, oh, there's two guys in that gap and nobody on the edge gap. The guy bounced it and got a big run. Or the corner, and we went over this in detail in one of the touchdown throws. Why is the corner playing outside leverage and opening up? If the corner plays inside leverage, which is what his assignment is, and breaks on the ball, that's a pick instead of a touchdown, right?
Yeah.
And we also had some examples of guys doing a really good job. Eddie Heckard's interception, we went through that play on AFR, and literally every player on the field played perfect leverage and was in the perfect spot, and there wasn't a single receiver open anywhere. Quarterback tried to throw the ball in, and Eddie Heckard picks the ball off. And I love that when we talked to Eddie after the game, Spencer asked him, tell us about the interception. He goes, well, I just played exactly the way they coached me to. I played inside leverage. I walled him off and forced him outside. Then I carried the route from underneath, and the safety played on top. He tried to throw it in, and I got a pick. And it was almost like, isn't it amazing that when you're where you're supposed to be and do what you're supposed to do, that good things happen defensively? So the bad news is way too many assignment errors last week. And part of that is they're coming at you quick, and they're throwing the football and they're getting it off and you're not ready. But it's not like, oh, TCU's receivers just ran by BYU's DBs because they don't have enough speed, or they pushed BYU's defensive line off the ball. But that wasn't the case in that TCU game. BYU gave them a pick six to start, which took momentum. Yeah. They fumbled the ball when they had a little bit of momentum coming back when BYU forced a turnover over their own. And 90+% of the stuff were assignment errors. You could fix that.
Trevor says, sounds like a lack of coaching. You know what? This is a big week for the coaches. It's a big week for the players to get it back together and respond. This has been a resilient team, but they weren't resilient in the game Saturday.
No,
they got to be resilient now in week 7.
And here's the problem. They've gotten slow starts with errors on the offensive side in 3 games now. They recovered in one, and another, that's Arkansas, right? Another, they kind of came back for a while and then the other team pulled away at the end. That was Kansas. Right, and that was just way too many errors to overcome on the offensive side. And in this one, TCU, way too talented and too good to just kind of spot them like BYU did and to start the game off with a pick six again.
Yeah.
And so they need to come out and start clean against Texas Tech. And even if they don't come out and just start scoring touchdowns left and right, the offense needs to possess the football a little bit. You need to move the ball. You need to get a few first downs so that when you punt, you force them deep into their own territory. You can't have 8 possessions in the first half and have 6 3-and-outs, a pick, and 1 touchdown.
No.
That just doesn't get it done. Your defense is on the field way too long, and the defense starts to wear down. And when you wear down, you make mental mistakes.
Yeah, for me, as I was watching that game, it just it was a reality check.
Right.
Hey, this is what this is. These guys were playing in the national championship game in January. They lost a lot of guys. They replaced a lot of guys.
Right.
They don't have bad recruiting classes. This is the level. And TCU, was sitting next to us in the standings. This is where these teams are.
Yeah.
And Saturday night, we're going to see a bunch of athletes out there playing for Texas Tech.
Yeah, and it always is interesting me. So Trevor says, sounds like lack of coaching.
Yeah.
Well, what about the coaching in the Cincinnati game? Did they just coach good for Cincinnati, but they were terrible this week? Sometimes there's situations in the games where the kids have mental lapses. I'm telling you right now, some of the mistakes you saw, I watch them practice and watch them coach those kids to do that over and over again. Yeah. Now, coaches always come out and say, hey, that's on us. We got to get through to them. But the fact of the matter is, players know that they've been coached up and they're supposed to go out and execute. And sometimes players don't. And when they don't, and the wheels fall off, sometimes they really fall off, especially against good teams. It's like,
for sure.
Wait a minute, has Lincoln Riley been terrible at coaching all year long? Because he certainly got out-coached against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Sometimes your game plan's not great. And Lincoln Riley is a great coach, and USC is a good football team.
Not Saturday night.
No, they weren't Saturday night, and they got whomped by Notre Dame. And so we don't go, man, what about this? Sounds like a lack of coaching from Lincoln Riley.
No, but I get the comment because we talked about it even on AFR. This is a big week for the coaches,
right,
to regroup the troops and go back over all those things.
Can they re-engage them? Because the thing that they have to do is they've got to point out what we're talking about. They got to go to the guys and say, hey, look it, guy didn't run by you. You got plenty of speed to make this play. Your leverage is wrong. You got to play inside leverage on this. Now, I need you in the film room more this week because you got to be in the right spots, right? They need to communicate with these players so the players can understand, hey, you can compete at this level, but you got to be where you're supposed to be every time with confidence and playing full speed.
Let's listen to the head coach. Before we go there, Lancey says, hey, Wise Guys, how about a shout out from Salt Lake?
Yes.
You get your shout out. You get on the stream. We're giving you a shout out as best we can. So, Lancey, thanks for watching us tonight. Here's Kalani Sitake's thoughts as he closes the book on TCU and begins the week-long game plan for Texas Tech. Couple of minutes with Kalani right here.
All right, new week, game at home, so we're excited about that, homecoming. So, obviously, going off of the post game from last week, you were able to watch the film and looking back at the game, I would just address this, that TCU, they played their best game of the year, and we didn't play our best game of the year. And I think you guys have heard me say this over and over again, that my goal is to get us to perform at our best every week, regardless of the opponent. But when you play in this conference, when you play against some really good teams, if they're playing at a high level and you're not matching that, you have no chance. And that was the result for this game. Still a lot of things for us to learn from and to get better. And just disappointing that I wasn't able to get the guys to play at our best in all three phases. And so we're going to have to evaluate everything and see what factors we can improve on. And, I think the sense of urgency for us to get better quickly is even more now and pretty evident on some places that we can address and things that we can control. And so we'll be working on that. I've already been working on it, but we'll try to get that all done by the time we get to Saturday, and by then perform at our best. That's the goal. Going against a really good Texas Tech team, well coached. Joey McGuire is a legend in the state of Texas in coaching, and he's done an amazing job putting together a really good staff. I know pretty much everybody on their staff, and they all have great reputations as coaches and as recruiters. And so you're looking at their team, talented team with start on the defense, just a really big defense. I think this is the biggest defensive backfield I've seen in college football. But they can run and they're strong and they're physical. And then you look at the front seven, well coached, and they get after the quarterback. And so it's a tough task. Our offense is going to have to figure it out and find ways to get points on the board and utilize our strengths. And then on the defensive side, you see what they can do. They can run the ball. I know they've had some bad luck with injuries at quarterbacks. I've been through that before, but they have very capable players and a strong O-line. So looking at the matchup, they're going to be difficult, but we have to be at our best to even have a chance in this game, and that's the plan. And then looking at the team, we've got some adjustments to make, but I still like the guys. I still feel good about the team, the culture, the leadership. We'll keep building on that and keep moving forward with a positive outlook and try to get ourselves ready where we can play at our best this weekend against Texas Tech.
So I was in the football office on Monday as we were interviewing Keanu Hill for game day, which you'll see on Saturday. And Kalani goes walking by me, and then a minute later he comes walking past again, and I go, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Had to get a shave before I went out and addressed the media." I said, "Well, good luck out there." You heard those first words out of his mouth. He said, "We're at home. Happy to be home." I don't know if he said we're happy to be playing at night, but we will say that.
There's just something about it, right?
19-1 in their last 20 night games. 19-1. And 16-1 in their last 17 home games at night. Kickoffs at 5. It's going to be dark before 7.
So they just got to hang on until halftime, Just hang on.
Then the bats can come out and, you know,
and he
we're on to
mentions this Texas Tech team. Remember at the beginning of the year, Dave, you and I are like, hey, this team could compete. They really finished strong last year, and they had 14 returning starters. But as Kalani said, he says, hey, they've had some struggles at quarterback and with injuries, and he can relate. Kalani's been through that, right? And it's such an important position. They had Tyler Show coming back to engineer this offense, a fifth-year senior. And this is an offense that was one of the top offenses in the entire country last year. And yeah, their backup was fine in Morton, but that's not the same as having your fifth-year senior quarterback back there.
No.
And now, if Morton can't play, Jake Strong's a really talented freshman. But that's really not the same as having Tyler Show at quarterback, who's run this offense and understands it and just picks defenses apart. And that's really the reason they're not performing at the level. It's because the quarterback position isn't who they thought it was going to be. And so that's been a little bit of a rough blow. But that doesn't take away from how good they are at the running back position, how good they are up front. Got a lot of guys back on the defensive side. Their defensive line is really physical, really capable getting pressure on the quarterback. So this is a big challenge.
It'll be fun.
And BYU's got to make some adjustments. I think especially on the offensive side of the ball, and we talked about it, with this big physical secondary that Kalani talks about, they got to get some quick passing game going early to get some completions, and that will make things different.
Before we bring in Brian McKenzie tonight to show you the uniforms the Cougars are going to wear on homecoming Saturday night, they're going to go with the white helmets, the royal tops, white pants with the royal trim. First time they've worn this configuration since Louisiana Tech during the COVID season of 2020. The weather is going to be outstanding. High of 74, sunny, low of 50. So for a football game between 5 and 8:15 p.m., that's fantastic. No flyover. We visited with our friend Clark Heyman from the Air Force. And the situation overseas has got the planes with other plans.
We understand, but I get goosebumps every time there's a flyover.
I know.
I love it.
I just love them. I plan to be with us, speaking of game day, 5 o'clock Eastern time, 3 Mountain, BYU Sports Nation game day. And we're going to show you the graphic here in just a sec. School President Shane Reese is going to join us. So will Lloyd Hill, the father of BYU receiver Keanu Hill. DJ, you going to put that up? And a member of the Texas Tech Hall of Fame. Our coverage is going to start at... Again, 5 o'clock Eastern, 3 Mountain. We'll take you right up to kickoff. Maybe we're not going to show you that. There it is. The game's on FS1 and the live post-game show back on BYU TV as soon as it's over. So it's going to be a great Saturday. And I can't remember the last time we had a 5 o'clock local time kick.
Yeah.
I don't even know if we've had 6.
And
we've had 4. We've had 7 and 8.
Yeah, it really is a different kind of time. But that's prime time back on the East Coast, right? Prime time evening game back on the East Coast. So
yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, the problem with an 8:15 kick is it's fine for here in California and Hawaii, but is anybody really watching that game back in New York other than Amber?
Amber, right? The diehards.
Amber's gonna stay up and watch it, but not people just clicking through aren't gonna watch it. And so, I like him to be 5 o'clock or earlier.